All right, what's going on, everybody? Hope y'all are having a great day. It's been a beautiful day up here in the northeastern part of Alabama. Up here, nice weather, nice sunshine blazing out there for us to get us in some 60-degree weather here in December. Had some tornadoes and type stuff kind of tipping off around over in our neighboring state. And here we are talking about some college football. So glad y'all can make me part of your day here. Locker Room Sports Show number 266, live and on the scene. Let's hit the old peanut gallery. Jeff, celebrating from this Friday, the 3rd of January, as his birthday reminder. He flatlined at 12:30 a.m. Okay, well, congratulations, and thank you for being here with us, Jeff. Today, I guess we can do some news first if y'all want to do that. If you want to go that way, we'll just talk about some happenings, college football, news, things that are maybe newsworthy. See, I'll go along with, did y'all see the guy at Arkansas, one of the linemen, Cameron guy, young man, he decided to step on the ankle of a player at Texas Tech in their bowl game. And a lot of news people are saying that he should be banned from football, they say. Honestly, and I know I'm just always going to be the old man standing on the porch, yelling at stuff and probably making a big deal out of nothing. So should he do it? No. So let's say that up front. We'll speak that into existence right now. And I'm trying to find my TV stuff. Here it is. Trying to find our TV stuff here. So no, he shouldn't have done it. And that's, part of the job and playing football, but you don't have to play dirty. I understand. But a lot of people played that way. He didn't stomp it, and it sounds like I'm taking up for him, and I probably shouldn't. But I'm not owned by Disney. I don't have some huge sponsors that are telling me what to say, and that's why you can come here and just get, just locker room talk. Just guys hanging out and talking football. So honestly, that's what I always want to do. Just be honest. It's just me and you talking. And I do appreciate everybody that subscribed to the channel over this year. We've grown a whole lot. What up, Burge? Yeah, I'm fixing to get to that. That kind of pissed me. It's I'm going to be the old man on the porch today, I guess. The game's changed so much, and it's nearly changed it out of my view of what I ever knew the game to be. And I was talking about the guy, Burge, from Arkansas that stepped on the guy's ankle, intentionally stepped on it. Now, he didn't stomp it, and it sounds like I'm taking up for him, but I'm not. Shouldn't do it. I have seen worse. Does that make what he done right? No. But I'm just being honest, man. We're just people hanging out here. That's what I keep saying. We're just guys hanging out here, talking football. And that's just how I feel about it. It's not a big a deal as it's made out to be. And talking about banning a guy from the game completely, that's ludicrous. There's things that happen in the game that nobody knows about. Things are said, and he shouldn't have let his emotions get to him to that level where he has to where he had to react in that kind of way. I do agree. And my throat is still bothering me. It's been that way for 2 weeks, and a lot of people I talk to around town are having this throat burning. Burge he was telling me last week his throat was that way last week one day. And it's just the weather, and it just is what it is. And everybody knows, if you've been watching the show long enough, that that my nose, I got sinus trouble, just born that way, just the way God made it. But so anyway, the guy from Arkansas, I don't think he should be banned from the game. I think that's being a little overboard. I think it's being a little dramatic, but that just kind of fits into society. and how it is today. So Jimmy Carter, yep, hats off to his family. He was the president when I was born in 77. So he was lucky to be the president when I was born. And, without being political, I guess he accomplished some things. A lot of people probably feel like he probably missed a lot of opportunities. Talking about President Carter passing away today at the age of 100. I think, once you have great ideas to do great things, and then you get into power, and then you find out who's really in control. And we all know really controlling the country it's the Bank of America, stock market. Those kind of people are what drive the industry, and those are what creates positions of power to keep them rich. And they'll let you be a part of that rich if you play along, and all presidents have had to do it, all of them. I do know a story about him. Jimmy Carter was one of the first ones to kind of really dig into it, initiate like some stuff about NASA, those kind of topics. So if you're interested more about Jimmy Carter and his dealings with UFO stuff and a sighting that he actually saw and he reported, if you like that kind of stuff, and look it up, check into it. He's just a regular old guy, it seemed like, from Georgia, just regular old. I think what was he, guys? Was he a pecan farmer or something? I forgot. Gosh, it's been so long. Shout out to the Jimmy Carter's family. Lived a long, great life, 100 years on this earth, man. Gosh, we don't deserve it. None of us are worthy. So, thinking about him and his family, I guess, today. Just throw him out of the game and let's just move on. So that's that. And we'll say Bird's brought up about Cam Ward. Cam Ward, Miami Hurricanes quarterback, plays a half, and I'm watching the game. And I had the volume turned down somewhat because I was on some media stuff, going through stuff or typing some notes, maybe talking to some people. But I was watching the game, and I'd get to watch for, 5-10 minute stretch, and then I'd be busy for a little bit. And then I noticed second half, Iowa State played them very, very well. They played them very, very well. Am I surprised? I think somebody had asked me on a social media post, was I surprised that he didn't play? No, not anymore. I didn't. He come in and broke some records for the game, and he wound up. What was he wound up throwing for? They wound up passing for 524 yards or so, and I was trying to find his player stats. Yeah, he throwed for 190 yards, had 500 yards of offense. The problem with all of it is, the coach has got to be to blame here, okay? Well, let's just be honest. And I ain't heard anybody, and I just got over there on Twitter a little bit ago. RG3 made a post about him, people victimizing him and, that kind of stuff and how ridiculous that is. He's not a victim. So RG3, I'm sure he's watching. Stop with the victimhood mentality. Just stop, bro. Stop playing that card. I'm surprised he didn't bring up something about his race. I'm surprised he didn't, because he likes to dig into that. He lived a very privileged life as a son of a military guy. RG3 did, and he don't have no like life experience. He didn't grow up how I did. There's really no call for him to bring up this, terrible point to make it out like, Cam Ward is a victim. Cam Ward was paid for services, and the services were not rendered. But as we talk about, bad kids these days, I first would like to say that we need to talk about bad parents, because parents are to blame for bad kids. Okay. If you see a bad kid, just usually, not always. Now there are some cases where they're brought up great and they're bad apples, man. Their elevator don't go all the way up. And there's bad kids out there. It's just bad people in general. I'm just not surprised anymore by any of this. But the problem is those type of things are that's what's going to bring in contracts. Those type of things are going to make it where contracts are going to be a thing now for college football, because they paid him a lot of money to come play, and he did not. It's called services rendered, and he didn't fully commit to rendering all of his services. When you pay somebody to do a job and they don't complete it, but the coach allowed it. So that's what you gotta, before we jump on him so hard, which I'm against it completely. And I think he's a coward. And I just can't believe there's a guy with a set of kahunas hanging between him that could watch your team lose, knowing that if you just go in and play a play, I just can't get it. There's no way. There's no way, man. You can't go out there and sweat and bleed with these guys and practice with them and work with them all year long and have such a great performance. And it's just become so important about you that you just come before it. I just can't. I'm sorry. I'm more of a servant kind of heart guy. Personal dealings, if y'all don't know, I worked with the youth a lot at church years ago when my son was young, and I just think it's so much better to give and try to make other people better. And you do it by showing them how to do it, not just telling them, like do as I say, not as I do. I'm not that guy. So that's not really how it works for me personally. Being born in the 70s, I'm just kind of older and have different visions of things than how it is now. I'm a Gen X guy. And there's just no way that I know guys. The part about it is really, if we're just, to be philosophical about it, since we're just shooting the bull, that's what this show's about, just talking about football and communicating with the crowd. What's up, Ben? There's, let's use the first injured player that comes right off the top of my head is, we'll use Sab, for example. He plays defensive back, field, corner, safety, whatever, plays defense back at Alabama. He was injured back several weeks ago, didn't play the last several games. And he's going to return to play next year. Well, he's injured, and he won't be playing in the bowl game. I think he would love to be able to play in this new bowl game that Alabama's going to be playing Michigan. It's the old Outback Bowl. Just playing another game with your friends it's worth something. When you know that you have something to give, and especially in Cam's situation, when what he has to give would have made a different outcome in the game. That's where it bothers me, because that's just me. I'm just being real personal with you guys. That's how I am. Some gave a lot and then didn't get to participate and would have loved to, and you have the opportunity to do it and you choose not to. And it's not because you're injured. And I don't want to hear about could be, woulda, whatever. You could get hurt stepping off the bus and roll your ankle going into the game, if that's how the cards have been dealt to you. But it's not. And last thing, and we'll move on into some games and stuff. Things that I taught my players and come from a good friend of mine, and we coached it this way with them a lot, to say fear of failure is deadly. Fear of failure completely cripples young people. It does. And it puts them in a position to where if you just to stand there in the box and not take the opportunity given, then how do you know what will ever happen? How would you ever know? if you never even take a chance, then there's just no way that you could ever know. You can't just stand in the box and just fear striking out or whatever. There's no way. You can't. Life's not made to live that way. Okay. I'm going over here. I'm sharing this on another page while I'm talking. I don't see how. I just don't understand how you can do that, man. It's just very hard for me. And again, this is me, to just go out here and do nothing and not play. It's bothering, man. It bothers me. It does. So with all that he had to give and to whatever, break some records and, that's cool and stuff, man. But we just don't have, what do we really have to give? We don't have anything to give. But the legacy that we leave behind, we're getting really philosophical here. But, all you have to leave behind is just your word, man. You don't, none of the money you have, no cars you own or house you've bought or lived in or stuff you worked for all your life. None of that means anything. But what you leave behind in your word. This is what I taught my son and his friends that I was around or church with or coaching ball or something or around kids. This is, it's just one guy was like me. I'm never going to lie to you. I don't like liars. I don't lie. And people laugh at that. What, Matt? Come on now. I'm sure you've told her. I just don't. And I know it seems like I'm being prudent about some point, it just, you give your word to the coach and your team that you're going to go out there and practice and you're going to go win the game. And that's what he actually said. He said that they're going to win the game. You had control of that situation to win the game and you lied. You didn't do everything that you could do to win the game. You quit because you're worried if you may get hurt. That's just fear of failure, man. That's not going to carry you in life. And I know it's people in his ears what it is. The coach should never let it happen. Coach Cristobal should have said, no, you're either dressing and playing. If you're injured, we'll work with it. Or you're not starting. You're not even going to be here. So either you play in the bowl game, you're graduating. Thank you for your time. You already got your money. And by the way, you owe us $25,000 for not completing the deal and playing the bowl game. So we'll need that back when you get that first NFL check clears. Well, actually, we can get it now because now their agents forward on money that they count on for the draft. They'll forward them about half of it. So I need about $25,000 of what that you owe us back, at least that much. But we've built our team around you. We're going to go ahead and put this guy in. Bro, it's just cowardly. And in my generation, it's just unmanly. And I don't want to hear no victimhood. I don't want to hear he's a victim. I don't want to hear that, especially not from RG3 that's lived a fantastic life and has large amounts of money. He won a Heisman Trophy for beating Oklahoma on some Hail Mary touchdown throw he won it that year. No. Don't want to hear none of that. Not at all. Let's see. What else was there? The Arkansas guy, Cristobal. This is a article that was done this morning. This is just worth mentioning. The challenges facing smaller conferences. While Boise State made this year's playoff, the challenges to the group of five faces are bigger than ever. Something to think about. There's going to be a lot of changes come next year to this college football world. Trust me, that you're going to see stuff because this 12-team thing was really thrown together real quick off the basis of a 14 playoff. And this automatic bid stuff, that's got to go. You can't take a 17th ranked Clemson team and put them in a playoff just because they won their playoff. You can't do that. You can't just put them in just because. So some things are going to be looked at. Some things are going to be worked on. Kenny Dillingham has turned Arizona State to a winning program overnight. I do like Coach Dillingham. I think he's a good coach. So first off, we'll go over here to the old bowl games. Let's hit the old bracket. Texas and Arizona State's the one at top, and we'll just hit that one first. Well, let's talk about some games, though. Let's talk about some games that's already happened. Let's do that. Let's go over here to schedule. We got to talk about a few of these that's been played here in the past couple of days. Some of them just worth mentioning scores. We'll get your comments on them. I love everybody's comments. Oklahoma takes a dump to Navy. I'm not really surprised. Hawkins, Oklahoma's got him a quarterback. 247 yards for him. He's a 6'1", 200-pound quarterback out of Dallas, Texas. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he did probably what he needed to do. I think their offense needs some help, and I think, y'all help me if I'm wrong, it seems like I heard them say that their Oklahoma's offensive coordinator was possibly leaving and going to take another job or something like that. Oklahoma kind of fails. They come out to a hot start, 14-7 at halftime, and, I'm watching the game, and they just seem to be cruising, hooking up for, nice passes. He's making good throws, making good decisions. He threw a nice sweet little fade route to his tight end over here in the corner up here to get the game started off right. But that big touchdown run by Harvith, their quarterback for Navy, just kind of quarterback draws and takes off up the middle. That changed the game. I think that was in the third quarter. And Oklahoma just comes out after halftime and just goes to sleep. They didn't even score at all. No points. But I did enjoy watching Hawkins, and I think he's going to be their guy. They did get what's his name, Master was the guy from Washington State. Wind up, he's transferred over to go play at Oklahoma. So that's the Oklahoma Navy game. That game was a little surprising. Navy's not bad, man. I knew Oklahoma would struggle with them because they have some offensive line trouble. They need to fix their coach. That's the thing. But their quarterback at Navy winds up rushing for over 150 yards. So kind of is what it is. Tell you a good game that I really didn't like. Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech. What did y'all think about that one? 35-27. Vanderbilt takes care of business. Pava gets the big ruling about, the JUCO thing, and it's not going to count. And he's coming back next year from what I've read, if that's a legit site I read it from. He comes out and plays a heck of a game, man. He's a good football player. He is. He kind of has a little – does it seem like he has a little Johnny Manziel to him, or is that just me? He threw for 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. He rushed for, 80 yards or so and 2 touchdowns. So, he kind of takes care of all their business for them, rushing and throwing. Haynes King went for over 200 himself, threw 3 touchdowns. He did throw a costly pick. I think it's kind of, a bad time of the game. But I kind of thought this game kind of felt like it made – like it's going to go in overtime or something, It had those kind of feelings to it. And Georgia Tech played Georgia to 8 overtimes. And while I'm talking about this logic with Oklahoma losing to Oklahoma losing their game and Vanderbilt beating Georgia Tech, that, the point was that, Navy beating Oklahoma means that definitely Alabama should have never had a shot in the playoffs. Well, that's about like saying Georgia shouldn't be in the playoffs because Georgia Tech they handed Georgia a big old handful. That game could have went either way at the end of the game. I watched all of it. That means that Vanderbilt should be in over Georgia or something. You see what I'm saying? Like, well, he beat them and this team beat that one, and that's why you can't do that. You have to take the whole season, look at all of it, look at their wins and losses, who they beat, who they lose to. And so that's just a bunch of crybabies out there that just hate Alabama and just want to come up with silly excuses to try to justify themselves so they can sound cool and they can sound right. Because, being right is what it's all about today, or thinking that you're right. And I'm just saying, just take it as a whole. And just because Oklahoma lost, that don't mean that Alabama wouldn't have played Indiana, wouldn't have played Notre Dame, better. I think everybody feels like they would. Now, Colorado and BYU, what a thump. 36-14 was the final. That Shedeur did go for over 200. Martin was their rushing leader, and receiving Travis, of course, goes over 100, your Heisman Trophy winner. They didn't have a whole lot to do. It was just kind of a butt whooping, and Deion went to the table, pulled up the old chair, and grabbed the water bottle and said, you know what? Love coach over there, does a good job with them. We obviously wasn't ready to play football like they were prepared. And we just got a butt whooping. Questions. That's exactly pretty much what he did. Y'all can hate on Deion, that's fine, but when he loses, he just says, it's on me, and we didn't figure it out. And now here's my opinion of the Colorado BYU, 36-14. The Buffs get a big Buffalo stinky dump put right in their face and rubbed in it. And BYU's not a bad team. We didn't have them pick preseason, do nothing. We didn't really look at them very much. But watching them play through the year, their schedule laid out fairly easy. And I think their losses I think they lose to SMU or something in a close game probably. But to me, it seemed like Colorado was happy to be there. And we see a lot of teams that just show up to bowl games. They won like one game. They were terrible. He comes in here and turns this team, just completely runs everybody off, brings in a whole new team, hitting the portal, had like 70, 80 new kids coming in the portal. Holy crap. They'll never do it. They'll never make a bowl game. Well, here they are. What do you say about Colorado? They finished 9-4. I think I may have had them winning 8, maybe 7 or 8. Most people didn't have a lot of faith in them. They lost to Nebraska. Probably shouldn't have lost that one as an early game. I think they got their feet up under them about mid-season when they played UCF. They beat Baylor. They did lose to Kansas State. Hey, Kansas State won their game too. It turned out to be a pretty good team. But they beat Arizona to get on the run there. Cincinnati, they beat Texas Tech, which Arkansas, we say what you want to about that one. 41-27. And Utah, they beat them pretty bad. But then they lose to Kansas. And the Kansas is in some kind of – they were in some kind of – I don't know, man. They had some kind of voodoo funk, literally voodoo funk going on. Kansas is like the only team in history of college football to beat top 25 AP ranked teams back to back to back and not be ranked. That's never happened, ever. So, shout out to them for, having a good season, and we'll see how it goes for them next year. The Valora Alamo Bowl. I did watch some of La Tech Army. Shout out to Ja'Cory Foster. He plays at La Tech. He played over here at Piedmont High School, and he does play up there. He was wearing number 6. Did get to play some. The UConn North Carolina game, I watched some of that one. Kind of got out of hand a little bit later, and UConn winds up kind of taking things off. North Carolina had a lot of kids, leave out and that type of stuff. Nebraska does beat Boston College. That was probably a little surprising. I think it seemed like BC was having a little better year. So that game, Eastern Carolina and North Carolina State, 26-21. I was watching the other game that was on the same time as that one. Wow, what a game that was. Now, we do know about the fight that broke out. We all seen the little videos of the ref with the cut under his eye. A kid come rushing in, I think from East Carolina, and pushed a kid from North Carolina, pushed his back of his helmet. So the North Carolina State guy accidentally, his helmet's bam, pushed into the ref. Huge fight breaks out. Now that kind of stuff, what do you say about that kind of stuff? I'm fixing to hit the comments here on this. What do you say about those kind of fights in that, East Carolina, North Carolina State? It's a rivalry game. It is. We're talking about some Carolinas up there, and there's some good football up there. There's some good high school football up there. I think that who's the Birds that some good Georgia teams play? I think it's Cannon Creek. I think they're from up there. They're like a nationally ranked high school. Canyon Creek. You can't, when it starts out in brawls like that, and those type of shots where you're like pushing a guy in the back of his head, and he hits a ref in the face. I've been the wild one. I ain't judging nobody. You got to control that a little better. You shouldn't do that. It gets out of hand and it gets carried away, and players are being players, and it is what it is, and that shouldn't ever happen. But this is just the kind of things that happen, and I think it's just made more of a big deal of because of just how things are now. Things are considered to be more like, you're not supposed to show any emotions or, whatever. You can't. That's just not how this game's played. It's not. Hang on a second. Let me fix this line. Yeah, you just can't play that way. You do want to play with some kind of controlled recklessness, okay? What about the fight on the sideline with Miami? That's the Miami game. That was, pretty wild. Miami, Iowa State game. They have players over there throwing down with each other. And, again, it gets on Twitter, and, well, they just ought to be ashamed. That fighting with one another like that. You got to be real teammates. That's what teammates do. Did you ever play? Have you ever played anything? Most of these people are griping had never even played pickleball. There's about being competitive. Dude, there's people I know that, you can go back and forth with, and I don't hate them at all. I think people get competition confused because average people don't like competitors, and competitors don't like average people. There's guys, I remember back in the day being younger, and some of the guys that Dean played with, I remember looking over there, like we may have played junior high or something, and if there probably wasn't a fight at practice one day a week, you probably thought something was wrong. These guys it's not a big deal. There's nobody getting stabbed or shot. And 9 out of 10 times, the fights that I saw with players and that I was around or seen, they always left laughing, and usually one of them's in the headlock. Oh man, God dang it, we just got fired up out there. So, and you move on, you laugh, and it's not a big deal because you're still fighting the same war. But there's battles on the field, and it's in competition. You don't know how things are said. You can't hear what all's happening. And you're just judging the whole situation from one clip. And that's unfortunately, that's the world we live in, when you just see something rolling in camera and just pow, somebody gets shot. Oh my God, I can't believe you killed him. Well, what happened? What led to this? It's just shoot, ready, aim society we live in. And that's just how it is. It's just, unfortunately, it's the world we live in, and it's just not always fair. It's not fair for all the parties involved. All right. Peanut Gallery. When Bird, he was a catcher and played for a baseball team out in Houston. He played injured in the World Series and was in a lot of pain the whole game. Did everything he could just for the team to win. Still lost, but you played the game. 37-3 as a catcher. The team won 3 regionals and 2 state titles, 1 regional title, another team catching. Look at you, Jeff. Ball came to North Carolina State, Carolina, got into a big fight. That's, and don't, got to cool your jets a little bit, man. The question is, which of the NFL teams will draft, being asked. We'll draft Shador. He's going to go pretty high, man. I think he's great. I mean, y'all can disagree, and that's fine. We can agree to, not agree on that point. That's okay. Any of the let's see. I don't keep up with the NFL quite enough to probably make an educated guess. Ben, Aaron Rodgers is not going to be your guy at the Jets, and they did get somebody though, didn't they? Don't they have a guy up there now? They got that boy from BYU still. See, people move around. See, in NFL, I'm lucky to keep up with the college stuff, all this portal stuff that got finally closed up today. Gosh darn. So I think Shador's fine. I think he'll make a good quarterback for somebody. But let's see. Monday we had Iowa and Missouri. We'll have that game kicking off tomorrow at 1:30. And I think, and then Tuesday, of course, Alabama, Michigan. Now let's talk about that game a little bit. Alabama, Michigan. Bama is favored. They're 9-3. Michigan is 7-5. Bama's going to be favored by about 10 or 11. Now, here's what I do know. Michigan, their quarterback is decent. He's okay. He's thrown a lot of picks, not a lot of touchdowns, and Orgy and the Tuttle kid, I think both of them is transferred, or they're going. I think they already have. So they're kind of in a bad spot with quarterbacks. Their tailback's not playing in Michigan. Their star tight end that's been their go-to this year, he's not playing. That can't work out good. Now, I know you say, well, the quarterback's not good, but they did beat Ohio State. And it didn't take a lot of points to beat them. And their defense did hold Ohio State with a great football team. They held them to, 10 points. And that, you think, well, but that was them under full fire. And this is not their whole team, really. So how fired up are they to play this game? It don't seem like they really are. They're just barely over 500. I don't see them being able to dominate the line of scrimmage. Question Proctor for the week. He did not practice middle of the week. Been keeping up with some of them. The players practice, but I did hear that that Proctor did practice maybe Thursday and Friday. We did know Bama's had some transfers to go out. They've got a lot of guys in. They did sign the Horton guy from Miami. He's a 6'4", 210, 220-pound receiver, tall. He's an X-position guy, go up and get the ball. So those are some portal guys coming in that you'll see make an immediate difference to be played. Now we're talking about Alabama-Michigan game coming up, and we'll move on to some others coming ahead. The Georgia-Notre Dame, we'll talk about those. Bama should beat these guys by 20, bro. I'm just being really, hey, this is Honest Sunday. Show 266. Hey, you know what, by the way, we are here. If you like football and you like just hanging out and shooting the breeze, hit the subscribe button. Hit the likes right now on Facebook. See that little blue thumb? Just start hitting that thumb. Just hit it 4 or 5 times on YouTube. Hit the thumb button. Just, it don't cost you. Don't do anything. Just hit the old thumbs up. Even if you don't subscribe. We're available on all different kind of podcast places. I'm on Instagram. Of course, on Twitter, you can find me there, X at Big Matt 1977, 2 G's. We're on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and, of course, on your great Spotify network also. So we look forward to always coming and hanging out with you guys live, coming here on 5 during the winter. When it gets more daylight during the spring and summer on into, we usually wait till about 6 to come on. So we enjoy everybody that comes by to hang out. So Bama, Michigan, I would guess a score to be like they should beat them 30-13. I'm serious. Now, the pullbacks, and I'll give you some positives for Bama. I'm going to give you some negatives. Moore and Sabb are not playing. So that's going to probably leave Zay Mincy and Hubbard, which are good players. Bama's got plenty. I got the list, and I broke it down this summer. I give you all their D-backs. Everybody's still there. McComb's going to play some receiver. You're going to see that. I thought it'll be interesting. He's an athlete. And it's not like, I heard somebody say, well, you can't just come in and start doing that. It's not like being a running back. Being a running back and then playing defense or something is not like being a D-back and playing receiver. It's less contact position. And being a receiver is the secret to being a great receiver is just running great routes. I mean, Devontae Smith, he won a Heisman at Alabama. He wasn't big as nothing. He didn't weigh, 200 pounds. I bet he didn't weigh 200 pounds if he had bricks in his pocket. He ran great routes, and he could catch the ball. Just catch the ball and run good routes. So that'll be interesting to see how him and Ryan do out there side by side. But the negatives for defense, there's some young guys back there. I think you're going to see Red Morgan play in there some. I don't know the Husky position or how they're going to play that Wolf position. And they've got guys. Okay. Because the ones that were left and the ones that did stay, they're 4- and 5-star guys. Jackson, he's going to still be around. So I think they'll be okay because the quarterback's not real good. Now, if they were playing Texas, I would be a little more concerned because without Moore and Sabb, it'd just be a tall task to ask some 18, 19-year-old young players to go out there and just ball out in a bowl game. So remember that, when we're hollering at the TV, God dang it, why ain't you? God dang it. This is their first starts. You're going to see probably 3 D-backs for Alabama to make their first start. Now, they have played, but they were coming in playing some roles. They come in and play a nickel's position where they play out of a cover 4 or something. They have 4 D-backs on the field, and cover 2, they're just maybe playing the main guys with just Sabb or more. But these other guys red, and they're good. And I've watched them at practice in the spring, and I've seen Zay, and them get beat on some plays. They do. I've seen them fall down, which, no, not their fault. But I've seen some good from them too. They're just young. So this will be a good experience for them going into spring. And they need to win this game, have a 10-win season, and have a positive note. Let some of these seniors go out in style. We have Moore and Booker and those guys. And but Proctor is probably still a question. I don't know any more than he missed some practice. But he did practice towards the end of the week here. So that I do know. Let's see here. Let's see. Shador and Dion will choose which team he's. Yeah, probably. And I'm curious if Dion's, interested in NFL job or he's going to stay. I'm kind of see how that is. One of Tennessee's wide receivers did transfer, and Alabama could possibly. Well, the portal's closed. Yes, Ben. Squirrel White did play at Clay. He was a little bit older than Mbakwa, the one that was going to leave, played D-back. That's going to be playing receiver that I was just talking about. And Squirrel was, wow. He's that. His nickname suits him well. He can go over, under, through, up, down, across, in or out. He's electric. The way he can move on the field and just he can dodge raindrops and just he can jump out of the shower and be dry. I'm serious. He can turn the lights off on the wall and get into bed before the light goes out. He's that kind of guy. But the portal's closed, so it closed yesterday as of midnight. So, really Friday night or Saturday. So it looks like he's going to stay. And Boo Carter is another one. He jumped in the portal also, I saw at Tennessee. But I did see for sure that he is staying. They did make another deal with him as well as Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. Of course, they're going to keep their quarterback. He's good, man. He's a good quarterback. I saw that he had made a deal also. As Alabama fan is in revenge game for Alabama, and I have Alabama beating Michigan 56-0. It may be. Yeah, the Tennessee-Ohio State game. Yeah, we can talk about it. I don't want to hear cold. I don't want to hear that. That's just talking points. That's something fun to say on Twitter. Oh, that's just too cold for them. Bro, it's cold in Tennessee. It's not like these kids are from freaking Aruba. These kids from Tennessee did not – well, Nico didn't. No, Nico's from California. He probably – if he stayed his whole life out there, which I'm pretty sure he did, he's probably never been – if he's been in state, I don't know if it gets any colder than 40s or so, maybe in California. But he's been in Tennessee for a while, and it gets darn cold up there. And they get snow, and it's cold, and the wind blows up there too. That's just an excuse. Tennessee just look flat. They look anemic. Ohio State came ready to play, and it seemed to me that the more prepared team won the game. It seemed that Coach Day may have been hearing some chatter because the fans did not show up for the game. Tennessee fans owned that game. They did. They showed up. The players come out with their shirts off. They were fired up. And you could blame a lot of things. You could blame when you let out, I'm not going to be Nick Saban, but I'm trying to make it just a quick point. Don't let outside things get into your head so much that it can affect the game. You know, Saban preached on this, like that revenge thing of that's not a reason to play. It's just out of, you know, revenge because they beat us before or something. You can't do that. You're supposed to prepare the same way every week, every game for the same way. You play faceless opponents. And I didn't like a lot of the play calling. I was surprised that Ohio State's offensive line stepped up and played good because they have had a lot of moments this year they have not. And we all know if they can run the game. Guys, they got two of the better running backs anywhere on the East Coast. Tennessee just didn't look ready. They just kind of looked flat. And I think by the time it settled down, I think Ohio State done got out on them. And then I think a little bit of, probably after halftime, I think a little bit of quit juice come in effect. That's, but a lot of Ohio State fans, are wanting him fired. And there's no rumbles of him getting fired I ain't heard anything. That's just some Stephen A. Shannon Sharp. Oh, hey, there's a topic. Shannon Sharp talking points for First Take. And those guys don't cover college football. So Kurt Herbstreit, if y'all don't know about this some more shut up juice. Kurt Herbstreit played at Ohio State, and he's friends with Coach Day. They talk regularly. Kids know each other, that type thing. So he's a little different with the situation than Shannon is, or Stephen A. Stephen A. is really the one that said it. He's the one that run his mouth. He just stepped out of the way when the bullets started to fire, and he let his soldier, Shay, take the bullets, and Shay shot back with some rubber pellets to me. Kurt basically just said, well, a lot of sports media has decided to fire Coach Day. I'm curious to what they'll have to say about it Monday. Sharp, Shay, Poo-Poo, he goes into some tangent about they ain't enough bosses at ESPN that could tell me what to, I won't hold back but I'm going to be nice. What? Ain't nobody pulling up on nobody. Y'all are all way overpaid glory hounds that get to sit up on TV and talk and do exactly what I'm doing and make a lot of money because you were ex-players. There ain't nothing they can say or that I think they could do any much better than I could. If I had all the resources that they had to be able to break down games the way that they can, because they have things at their fingertips, and have people working for them that bring them information, I think I could go in there and swing with them. I think I could. I'm a little too honest. I'd probably be, get a few Coach Saban looks like he does when you say, well, these two coaches here, so going to play each other. Georgia and Texas says, I think they're both full of shit. I think they're both, nervous about the game. That'd be me. But Sharp didn't have to. Bro, you're not going. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let me tell you this. Them muscles don't mean you can throw hands. I do know some muscular guys that can fight, and the main one that I know could fight before he had muscles. It just made him more dangerous because he's got muscles now. So, dude, Shannon Sharp, shut up. You're not going to pull up on ain't enough bosses at ESPN and tell me hold me back from what I could say. But this time I'm going to play. Shut up. You ain't going to do nothing. When they see each other out, they're going to do this. Man, it's so stupid. What up, Zach? Talking about old Club Shay Shay, him and Herb Street into it, arguing it. There ain't nobody going to pull up on somebody. Why you want to let me go pop the trunk out here, fool? I'm fixing to go. Y'all are all millionaires. Y'all get driven to games. You eat caviar and you drink $500, $1,000 bottles of champagne, and you wear $1,500 loafers. You have on $5,000 watches. Shut up. You ain't nobody pulling up. Shut up. That's so stupid. Y'all trying just to act like you ghetto or try to act tough. Go sleep somewhere else with that crap. Go sleep on the bench out in the park and tell somebody else that. That's so stupid. Heard that Deion took his numbers away from players for him for not making good grades. Yeah, he did. Well, and two, at the hotel when they were getting ready to go to the ball game, he told the guys, he said, I promise, let me smell some weed smoke. I will send everybody home and we won't play this game. I'll embarrass all of you and I'll say, excuse me, people here, y'all been so great to us. What a fine job y'all did allowing us to come to this ball game. We appreciate you for feeding us, and the accommodations were great. I'll send all y'all home. Let me smell some weed smoke up in here. Everybody's going home. Hey, I like it, man. I can dig it. I can sure enough dig it. So Alabama, Michigan, man, Alabama should be favored by a lot, man. They got weapons to throw the ball to. I think they're probably good enough up front to control the game mostly. Milroe is very dangerous. He is. And I just don't know how Michigan's going to move the ball. I don't. Now, the next game up, everybody's going to be excited for, will be the 31st. Penn State and Boise State. Guys, is there any chance that Boise State beats Penn State? Is there a shot? Is there? I mean, I'm asking now. We're just hanging out, man. We boys here. We're just hanging out. Penn State's favored by 11. I would nearly, man, if I had about $1,000 just to ride out and just go, I'm telling you, man, I would not have a problem putting that on Boise. I don't think Penn State covers. I'm just saying. 6:30, ESPN. The battles of the tailbacks, Singleton against Genty. Genty's going to come in here to the game with, what's he got, about 3,000 rushing. And Singleton's going to be about 1,000. Both receivers have pretty comparable numbers. Drew Aller, that's the question. Can Boise create enough trouble to keep Drew off his mark? I don't know. Because in how their stats work against each other, if Boise can get some pressure, his numbers are lower. But Boise's numbers are not great to be a pass rushing defense. And when Drew can set and throw, He's going to do a good job. Now, the other side of that coin is does Penn State's defense have enough to stop Genty? Some people thought he should have won the Heisman. I don't. I think Travis was the most exciting football player this season. Genty won the Maxwell Award for the best tailback, deserving. Now, Boise State has beaten Wyoming 17-13. They beat Nevada on the last play of the game, 28-21. They did lose to Oregon on a field goal. Okay, I don't want to blow my nose there in front of everybody else. Man, these are good questions. We got some good questions here. Penn State following up here, be 12-2 in the season, finishing second over there. Big Ten, it shows, right behind Oregon. Indiana third, Ohio State coming in fourth. Boise State, of course, winning their conference, being 12-1. We mentioned their one loss. Penn State lost pretty badly to Oregon. I think that game got away from them a little late. I think they tried to play with them there for a little while. I just don't see Penn State beating them by 11. I don't know. Y'all tell me. Let's hit the Zach likes Bama by 17. Yeah. It may get bad, Zach. I think they may get them by 3 touchdowns. Beware Boise State. Remember the old trick play? I do remember that against Oklahoma during the Statue of Liberty. Ed Reed is rumored to Alabama A&M football head coaching job. Announces about Alabama A&M football head coaching job by tonight. Okay. What a player he was. Michael Vick's got a job now, coaching at a small college. So this next game coming up, I just wouldn't be surprised if they play them close. I really wouldn't. If Boise plays them a little closer than what you think, I'm not going to come back in here next week and be like, holy crap, I can't believe that. I just think Penn State's susceptible. The conference is not real good overall. They're Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, kind of high, heavy. I just wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, that's just my opinion. Now, let's see. The next game there, the winners of the Penn State-Boise State game, let's talk about that one. The Dogs versus the Golden Domers. These two teams have locked up and played each other many times across the old past of college football. I am honestly thinking that Stockton's going to have a breakout game. I'm much higher on him than I am Beck. Stockton is a playmaker. He's a gamer. And I don't think this game is going to be a problem at all. I just think Notre Dame's fake. I just had never seen them. Now they may prove me wrong, and they'll have to prove me wrong. And odds are 54 Notre Dame, 46% Georgia. I have no idea where they come up with that. That's absolutely ridiculous. What are they basing that on? Yeah. Love's got some carries. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. I dig it. Leonard's a 2,200-yard passer. Beck over about 3,500, but he ain't playing. Gunnar Stockton's playing. And I just got a sneaky feeling this is going to be a coming out party for him. And I like Georgia by a lot. Y'all call me crazy. Notre Dame may play them close. Notre Dame is not beating Georgia by no 2 touchdowns. It's not happening. They're favored by 1.5. That pretty much Vegas is saying. They like Notre Dame because Beck ain't playing. But obviously, they don't watch a lot of football because I like Georgia more because Beck's not playing. I'm just telling you. I think the old boy's a dog. He may come here and show up while Wednesday and just make a mockery out of all of us and may look like an idiot. And Burge is going to be cussing. He's going to slam his TV in the floor. I don't know, man. That's just me. Notre Dame has to be able to prove they can get a great push up front. Statistically speaking, they're top 30, and I think they're top 20 in rush defense. They are. But, I mean, you want to rifle through their schedule real quick? We all know about Northern Illinois. Everybody has a bad day. Beat A&M by 10. Embarrass Purdue. Embarrass Miami of Ohio. And Stanford. Beat Georgia Tech pretty good. Handled Navy very well. They were ready. I've seen a lot of that game. That was a good game. They were prepared. And Navy just didn't have the defense. They just couldn't do nothing. Besides the USC game, 49-35, and their loss, A&M's the closest game they've played this year, and it's by 10. So, like I said, I understand where this pick's coming from. My pick for this game is just coming from watching the game and seeing how they've played. And if they can shut Frazier down, Stockton can run too. Now, here's a statement I want to make, and I want Georgia fans' opinions because I'm a media person, and I have an opinion about this. Talking to a guy earlier about this. Is it a big game for Georgia? Yes. Why? Because it's win or go home. I think it's also a big game in the regards of moving forward without their quarterback. He is going to enter the draft. Georgia needs some receivers. You got to have at least a guy. I like Stockton, and I hope he may prove me wrong and go out there and bust. Turnovers, fumble the ball. They ball him up. He can't get away. But usually, Georgia's defense is always sound. Kirby's a good coach. But it feels a little outdated. Does any Georgia fans, please somebody help me. I mean, y'all are drowning me over here. Is there any Georgia fans, Birds, or I wish Kevin and Daniel come on. They'll give me an honest opinion. I'll give you a second to think on that. Just think about it for 4 seconds. Does Georgia seem a little outdated in some stuff they do? Okay, hang on. You guys are idiots. They're funny. I think that there's got to be some growth. It seems like, and I'm not talking about the stuff Georgia got in trouble for. They got a lot of problems with kids, and a lot of colleges do. But when I told Birds this, probably a year or two ago, I think it was 2 years ago when they won the first one, I said, welcome to the spotlight, bro, because everything y'all do from now on is 10 times magnified. It's like being the son of a preacher. You can't do nothing because you're accused of it if you don't do it. And if you did do it, then it's 100 times worse than anybody else in the league that does it, because that's the way it was when Bama was winning all these back-to-back and miss a year and win another back-to-back. You're just going to get talked about and you're going to be hated on. This is a time for Kirby, and they got a good recruiting class coming in. They're going to have to – it just feels like their offense – it may be Bobo. Maybe I'm being critical because I don't like him. Now, he has called better games here as of late. Boy, I mean, during the middle of the season, man, I was going nuts. Like, what is he doing? I didn't think he called a good game against Bama. I thought it was terrible. It seems like they're just kind of – it's kind of like the guy, kind of like the Matthew McConaughey character. You know, just the older guy, like he's like, 25, but he still hangs out at high school parties and everything's just all right, all right, all right. I don't know. That's what Kirby feels like. And maybe I'm way off. Maybe I'm seeing something that's not there, and I'm living in some other land, and they're on the cutting edge of technology. Their offense is elite and fits the modern day. And I'll make this point and I'll move on. I'm ready for your comments, and you're going back and you're watching the show now. Georgia fans, I want to hear from you. The old adage of you run the ball and you play defense. Well, that works because you control the clock. Another team don't have the ball. But unfortunately, a lot of the times, these other teams score so fast because they're hitting explosive plays. And I need to see some more stats. Is Georgia's, explosive plays, where's Georgia at on 20-plus yard plays down the field? Where's Georgia at? 20-plus yard plays down the field. Big plays. I just don't see them. I don't see them. Without Bowers and McConkey, even the game last year, they look anemic. They can't figure the run game out. They got some guys coming. They're high school guys. I didn't see them go out in the portal and grab no big name. It's like they're not even was the Singleton guy? Georgia's got money. He come from Georgia Tech. Maybe you don't want to go and play for the enemy, but you don't want to let him go to your enemy. Georgia's number one enemy was probably Bama, because they beat Auburn for golly. Georgia's number one enemy is probably not Auburn. It's supposed to be. It's South-South's rivalry, but they've beat Auburn for 20 years straight. They got to find some players. I'm just surprised at some of these named receivers, like guy from Daniels from LSU, or he went like Miami, or Bama went up with a Horton kid that come from Miami. Squirrel White should be like Kirby should have been on that like quick. I think he would be great at Georgia. Could some of it be they're not getting some of those guys because Coach Womack said, at Alabama defensive coach, he said the other day that we have a little trouble in the portal because players know when they come here, the expectation to win in Alabama is so high, man. I mean, if you don't win 10 games a season, you're just dog water, which is not true. But most of the fans feel that way. So is Georgia not getting some of these portal guys because Kirby runs a tight ship? But I mean, we've seen a lot of kids in trouble off campus stuff, but based inside there in the compounds of the team, I bet he don't put up with a lot of crap. Ain't a lot of yang. Shirts are tucked in at practice. We come out here to practice. And practice is going to be harder than the game. I think he's that kind of coach. Georgia, this game, bowl game against Notre Dame, lastly, we'll move on. I think it means a little more than everybody's reading into it. I'm serious, man. Because Stockton playing, this is like you're seeing Georgia turn a page and move on. I think this is big. I think they cannot lose this game. They always recruit good because they're in state and they're the guys in state, and their state just happens to have most all the best players anywhere in the South: Georgia, Florida, Texas. It's just how it is. Don't shoot me. I'm just a messenger. They have the top rated players in the nation. A lot of them. Top 100 players, top 150s. A lot of them's in Georgia. Why can't they you got to get some receivers, man. I mean, just with seeing the guys that come out in these portals, they should have been. But I do know this. Same in Alabama. I've heard Alabama people report this. They're not going to overpay for a player because whether other teams like this or not, and you can hate if you want, that's fine. Just talk to somebody else about it. I'm just telling you what it is. That logo does have some difference. Alabama's. It does when you're going pro. Because they just know how it's hard to play there. And there's usually a lot of great talent there. So if you get to play there, you have to be pretty good because you've skimmed to the water of a lot of great players. Like better than, Mississippi State or, A&M or Auburn or, some of the lower teams or something. Because there's not a lot of great players. Just that's why they have a lot of first round picks. So, and Kirby said he don't want to overpay he's not going to overpay for players because he feels like he can turn out a product through his staff that can make you a lot of money one day. Maybe that's why they're not getting some of these guys, but you can't be Dabo forever because even Dabo went and got some kids out of the portal. So, last two here. Let's see here. We'll do the 12 o'clock game first. Texas, Arizona State. I may be wrong. I may be. I think Levis is a good quarterback at Arizona State. He's over a 2,500-yard passer. And if you throw him for over 2,500 yards, 20, 25 touchdowns, I don't care where you're at. You're a good quarterback. But everybody's going to say, well, man, they really played anybody, I mean, kind of what's going on there? Who have they played? Who did they play? Birds, come on in here. I didn't see you. I was over here. Did you Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, okay. Hang on. Before we go to Texas and Arizona State, because I don't think that's even going to be a fun game. I just don't. Let's go back to Georgia. Georgia, Notre Dame. My statement was, did you hear my whole statement, my question?
Oh, yeah, I was listening.
Okay, so what is do you agree that this bowl game for Georgia is bigger than just a game? Because I think that this is a great opportunity for their staff to turn the page from the leaving quarterback to the new one, which I love. I like Stockton. I think he's a dude. I think Georgia's going to blow him out. But this needs to show a good hand for recruiting. And I've looked through Georgia's recruiting list, and me and you talked about this, about their receiving core. I have other fans of other teams asking me, why is Georgia not? And I know Kirby don't want to overpay for people because that logo does mean something that you're going to be drafted high. But does their offense seem a little stale a lot this year?
Yeah, and I think that I think it's because it's kind of like Alabama too. I mean, everybody expects them to score 40 points a game and just do what you want to, and you're just not always going to do that. And I think you're right. I think the receiving core has been lacking. I mean, maybe besides, the guy that went to Pittsburgh, who else has really been a playmaker at receiver? I mean, you've had guys out there that can make plays. I mean, but we haven't seen an AJ Green, anybody like that, in a long time.
Well, them type of guys they don't come around everywhere anyway.
Yeah,
and honestly, for Georgia's sake, and I'm taking up for you here, where is the super elite receivers? Period. There's just not a lot in the league really at all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you even look at the NFL, and you could probably put five elite receivers, and everybody else is kind of role players. Maybe more, but close. But as far as Georgia's sake goes, I mean, I agree with you. I think too many drops, not enough getting open. And we've talked about it all year long, missing Bowers and McConkey. Even look now. I mean, McConkey's a third down connoisseur for the Chargers. I mean, he's open. I think as far
Bowers,
as
but didn't Bowers didn't he have some kind of record, rookie receiving something?
Yeah, some kind of record. He said, yeah. And he's playing with hogwash at quarterback, and so I mean, that he's going to just. I think after his rookie contract's up, I don't know if he'll stay there or where he'll go. But if he gets a decent quarterback, his numbers could be astronomical. But anyway, no, I agree. I think there's a lot. It's just like Jeff says, a little lackluster, lost its punch on offense. They ain't even really comparatively. They haven't ran the ball well this year neither. They really haven't done a whole lot well offensively. They've done just enough, really. And Kirby and the guys, they know that. I mean, they know that it's not where it needs to be. And anytime you ask Kirby about that, long way to go. That's what he always says. It's a relentless force, but I agree with you. I don't understand why they don't go after some of these guys, and maybe they want upfront money or some kind of deal, and Kirby and the staff's just not willing to do that. So, I mean, but conversely, I don't think you'd have to worry about the star players, i.e., Gunnar Stockton playing the first half of a game and then sitting out the rest. Because, if you're not going to play the whole game, I don't think Kirby's even, he's moving on with what approach.
Yeah. And I don't know if, I made this statement earlier that I don't know if it's because and people can, and this is what you're going to get. And I don't know if you heard me say this earlier. I told you this when y'all won the first one. I said, get ready. It's like being a preacher's son. You're going to get magnetized. So all these cases of these kids off campus and these drinking, driving, these felony charges, it happens everywhere. Unfortunately, you're the one that's holding the championship belt. So you get like this. Everybody say, yeah, you see what they're doing. So I'm just bringing that up for the haters before they do. You know what I'm saying? If you don't bring that up, they'll bring it out and say, well, he talking about controlling the locker room. He can't even control the damn guys outside. Shut up. Shut up. So I'll just bring that up first so people don't say that like I missed that. Like I don't freaking know. I know. But I think that he probably runs a real tight practice, just knowing that he's a Saban guy. He was with Nick for a long time.
Oh yeah, he's got the loudspeaker overall. I mean, I watched just a few minutes that they had of the open practice that they had just the other day, and he's on everybody, And
I don't know if that. I don't know that may startle some kids because, Womack, I shared it the other day. Womack had an interview when they got down to Tampa and they were asking him about, getting guys in the portal. And he said, well, we got what we needed. We needed to fill a few spots on the line. And, we were kind of looking for offensive, defensive linemen. And I think we've got a good class coming in. But he said, honestly, to one of the reporters, he said, it's kind of hard here at Alabama. He said, this is my first year here, but of course I know about the program. I mean, he's from he knows the area. He coached South Alabama. When kids come to interview there, you meet a kid like they're just kind of, like moving around and, hitting the portal and seeing what things are like. He's going to go to LSU and he's going to go over to Georgia. And, he said, when I meet these guys, they're like, they come into the building like starstruck, and they feel like if they don't give 110 all practice long, that they're probably not going to make it. And he said, honestly, that's the kind of kid we don't want. If you don't want to give 110, we don't want you here anyway. And that runs a lot of kids off. And I think Georgia with Kirby probably has some of that effect.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I absolutely believe it has that effect. I think that, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, practice is going to be harder than the game, especially at Georgia with Kirby running the ship. And he expects the coordinators to do the same, everybody to do the same. I know everybody has been on Bobo. I think his play calling's been better lately. He did what he had to do.
It's been better. It's been better.
Texas, but I don't. As far as the receivers go, I think they're excited about the guys that are coming in next year. I'm not sure how many of those are practicing now, but I know he's not a receiver. But Elias Williams has been there. I've seen him in pads. He looks really good. Camden County, big 6'7", probably 200.
Good Lord.
Tight end. Taylor Taylor, man, I'm excited about Taylor Taylor and C.J. Wiley from Milton. I mean, who wouldn't be excited about a 6'4", 200-pound receiver that can go get it? And a thing that you have to worry about is we haven't seen those guys under the Kirby era come in and play much. And I don't know if it's because they don't grasp the offense. I don't know if it's because they make too many mistakes. They don't block good enough. I don't know what the reason is. But all I know is early, it's hard to get on the field, regardless of if you've got a 2 or a 3-star guy in front of you at receiver. So I think there's a lot of, I'm not going to say like brother-in-law, but I'm saying like he wants the experienced guy, regardless if it's a super productive guy or not. He wants the guy that's going to be a roughneck, that's going to block, that's going to do everything that he wants you to do. If not, then you're moving on. But look at Jackson Meeks that went to Syracuse. It's caught 1 million balls from Kyle McCord up there. He was a backup, and he never made the starting lineup, didn't have a lot of receptions at Georgia. He goes up there, and he's like number 1 or number 2. Maybe over 1,000 yards, something like that, with a bunch of touchdowns. But
same thing with the Holston kid, the quarterback. He was 3rd string in Alabama. He goes to Pitt, and they go 6-0.
Yeah.
They won 6 straight games with him. He gets hurt, and they lose a bunch of their games. But, same thing. You see these kids. So the days of being able to hold them and keep them, we know those days are over. And Saban talked about it on Pat's show like Friday, to be able to keep players, and like you're talking about, to keep them. And now you may not get to go out on the field right away, but we're going to develop you, because when Kirby and Nick was together, you were practicing against the best in the country. So when you do get the opportunity to go play, you're going to be good because you're practicing against the best. AJ McCarron, was on the practice squad for a while. He had to like fight and claw, just to get a spot. And when he wound up being a 2-time national champion, it worked out for him. But today, unfortunately, the moms and dads are guilty of this too, that just keep telling their son that you're the best player ever. And that's not that I didn't tell mine he was good, but I just always wanted him to stay hungry, to be humble, and to know that there's somebody else out there. Like Daddy always told me, and you get in a fight, there's always going to be somebody else out there to bust your head. You're never the guy. There's always somebody that can get you.
Oh, yeah.
So those days have been able to keep players and develop them and not have to face, because the way you get better is from being pushed. the way you get stronger in weightlifting, I think everybody knows this, is the resistance of the weights. If I start out with 225, well, I add weight and I go 275, 305, 315, 335. You know, it's heavier. So the more that pushes on you, the more it strains you. And in the practice game and in the players mentally, you know, being frustrated at practice is how you grow. But unfortunately, it's hard for Kirby and Coach DeBoer. I mean, like Kobe Prentice, he's a good player. He was a good receiver for Bama. I was excited about him in the A-Day game. Kendrick Law is a great athlete. These guys have went to Kentucky and Baylor. What? Yeah. Baylor?
Yeah.
Walter White just left Auburn, the quarterback. He goes to Baylor. I don't. So let me put this on here. I'll show you what I got here. There it is. This is the Georgia's first wide receiver in the room. He was the first one on the list.
Not a lot of catches.
He played up north, and his name's Nitro. So his name's Nitro. He's got to be good. He's a top 120 player. He's number 24 for wide receivers, number 3 in the state. So this is he's 6'1", 190 pounds. Hadn't seen him play. And the next guy, their next wide receiver,
yeah, I can tell you Nitro Togo has not been in a lot. And
see, this kind of guy here, this is their next receiver on their list, Birds. I'm worried.
Who's the next
Georgia
receiver?
freaking Bulldogs, you're 2-time back-to-back champions. I mean, been kings of the SEC for the last couple of years. Well, you know what I mean. They've been getting things done. Bama beat them last year, but
Nitro Togo catching for 34 yards.
Birds, who in the cake is this 3-star white kid? Now, he played at Cartersville, which is a great school. He's 5'9", 180. And let me say up front that here he is right here. I'll say up front that the stars, what is just stars don't always mean a lot. Here, I'll take up for some kids because I do know some kids that are good kids. He made a catch over 2 people there. Just because you don't have a lot of stars, here's sometimes why when you come out of high school. Not kids that's already transferred. They don't get to go to a lot of camps. And I don't know this young man's financial situation. I know Cartersville area is not a super wealthy place. It's pretty good, but, you know, it's okay. So if he got to go to some camps, he may have been a 4-star. He may have been a 4-star. But I'm just kind of like, you know, where's the – like we had a list of the top wide receivers in the nation. Let's see, 2025. I know Ole Miss got one because they got Cunningham. They stole him from Bama. So here's your top wide receivers. That's not wide receivers. I know it's not because yeah, it is. Okay, this is more kid. This is the guy on the top you see here. Let me put it back up there. This guy on the top here, he's Keelan Russell, Alabama's quarterback commit. This is his receiver. His top receiver, Moore, is going to Oregon. I know Khalil Lockett. We all know about him. He's great. He's going to stay at home at Texas. Cunningham, he was committed to Bama for a long time. He's going to stay at home. He's going to stay at Mississippi. Florida gets one, staying at home. The Wilson kid, the Miles kid from Utah, going to A&M. Florida gets another one. I mean, Florida, you can say what you want to, but he's got two 4-star receivers coming in. Coach Napier does.
Yep.
And the Derek Meadows kid, which has played at Nevada, he's a 4-star receiver going to Bama. I've watched him play a little bit. He's a real tall kid. He's it says here he's 6'5". I thought he was 6'4". So here's Taylor, kid from up north, So he's a 4-star guy that's going to Georgia. So you got one on the list. But then you see like TCU, Michigan, South Carolina's digging in here. CJ Wally played Alpharetta. Do you know about him? 6'4", 195, 4-star going to Georgia.
Yeah, he played for that Milton squad. He's from Alpharetta.
Okay. Texas, Miami's got one. Ohio State's got a bunch.
Yeah.
South Carolina doing pretty good. Look at South Carolina. They got 3 or 4 in here. I think Georgia's got 3. There's 4. Taylor Williams, 6'1", played at South. He's from Armwood, Florida. 3-star kid.
Yeah.
This Brooks kid, Lazor Brooks, is going to Bama from New Jersey, supposedly, by the chatter on Twitter. He's the fastest receiver. He's supposed to have been clocked at like 24 miles an hour. Lazir Brooks. Kentucky's got one. Baylor.
I think Thomas Blackshear's got a possibility of playing. He's 6'1", 200. He's kind of a probably a slot guy. Can run pretty good. He had offers from everybody.
Sam Turner. He's from Decatur. He's going to Auburn. The Blackshear, there's him, 6'1", kid played over there at Savannah. So those are just some top guys, and I wanted to pull that out to try to. I know we may talk about whatever, but we kind of need to show recruiting because I want to see where Georgia is, and we've seen about 4 guys they got coming, and we got to see it put on paper. And I'm not a Bobo fan. He better get his crap together this next year because college football is different. These kids are not going to hang around. And I guess the word develop anymore don't obviously mean a lot. I guess it just don't. So, but I don't know how you can get better if you don't want to be developed. I mean, it's going to hurt. Here's the thing. And then we'll talk about these last 2 games. This is it to me. Now, you can tell me what you think. The NFL, colleges, JUCOs are literally the farm league for college now because it don't even count towards your college time. Well, the NFL, their farm league is college.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the NFL want players to be developed so when they get them, they're ready? Example one, in my last example, when I was coaching these young guys around here when they was 10, 12, 13, went to all the line coaches at all my county schools that these kids played at and said, hey, I'm coaching the kids out here. I'm offensive, defensive line coach. And I know they're 12. What do you want them to know here when you get them in 7th grade next year? What would be one thing that you'll go, if they can get this, everything else will work on? And all of them told me the same thing, basically. Some of them had some different things. But basically, they all said if they can get that Z in their hips, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, flipping the hip.
They want that Z so they can get down in a stance. He said, I want them to be able to get down and put their fingers on the ground and not just bend over. Learn how to squat and lean over on their hands and launch, not just fall down their face, but learn how to launch off their feet using their hips, have that Z from their hip to their knee to their ankle. Ankle, knee, hip. They want this Z in their foot. So they're launching into players. And I tried to do that. And I started with them on their knees, of lunging into each other and how to, tackle and how to make blocks. And then we worked on hand movements and how to swim and how to spin. And some of those things, some of the kids are either good at it or not. But it seems like the NFL would want these players developed. Wouldn't the coaches want to have well-developed players? Pete Carroll used to brag on Saban all the time saying, man, I couldn't wait to get in the draft. I didn't care if he was a second-round guy, lineman. If he come from Bama, I knew that Bubba and them, the line coach back then, I knew they had been coached well. How can you coach a kid up? He's going to freaking leave.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
So
it's like you can't put pressure on a kid as far as like challenge him on the depth chart because they just get up and go. I think a
Pressure
lot
is
of these
supposed to,
schools think that if you're not willing to put the work in and you're going to just get up and go, then next man up, kind of what you got to do.
pressure is supposed to make diamonds, but pressure seemed just to make a big old pile of chicken crap.
Yeah,
So, so we'll see how Georgia does in the game. I think they beat Notre Dame. I just don't think it's a big deal. Notre Dame's going to have to prove to me. Leonard's going to have to prove to me that he can consecutively, quarter after quarter, make enough plays. Because I think Notre Dame's going to need about 4 touchdowns to beat Georgia, and I don't know if they can get there.
a similar defensive strategy as they did against Texas. I think that Texas' quarterbacking is probably a little better as far as the pass game. I think you might see Riley Leonard and a lot more run concepts on third and short. Because QB run has gave Georgia fits a little bit. When you hand it off to the running back, I mean, you're sitting against Texas. Texas ran for 29 in the first matchup and 31 in the second, and then they're running for 150 plus against everybody else. So I think they're going to come up on the line of scrimmage. They're going to play one-on-one outside, and they're going to challenge them to throw the ball, and they might do it, but can they do it consistently? I
Yeah,
mean that's the difference because I mean I think Texas threw for over 300. And they probably had 150 or more at halftime. And what they had 6 points, 9
yeah,
points. So I mean, I think a rule of thumb is you're not going to beat a good defensive team kicking field goals. And if you
no,
drive down the field 80 yards and get 3, I think Georgia's happy with that.
sure.
Yeah.
I think it's still one up front, and I know the cliche of just run the ball and play defense wins games, and it does because you can control the clock that way. But I still think that Georgia needs to have some explosive playmakers, and you got to be able to run the ball so you can throw it. And we've all mentioned our concerns about some of their wide receiver group. They can't have a bunch of drops. Look, if they come out here and Frazier, if he don't have at least 100 yards rushing, and Dodson have 100 yards rushing, or at least 80 for the quarterback, I think it's a bad day at the office for Georgia. If Notre Dame is setting up the 4-man front and they're slipping guys and they're hitting these 1 and 2 and 3 holes and they're hitting the gaps right, and they're making him struggle and they run stunts like Kirby does, that's the thing with Kirby. You have these stunts and these guys will run inside. Well, the linebackers or the inside guy runs out to the edge. And when the tackle, the defensive end runs in, the quarterback scrambles out. Well, what happens is you run into a trap. It's just nothing but an old hunting trick. We used to do it when we hunted rabbits. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You just do one thing to make him move. And the way you make him move, you control how he moves because Kirby did it with Tebow. We did it against a lot of running quarterbacks that give us trouble, but 9 out of 10 times Kirby was successful. You make him run out and you have a guy just standing there waiting on him is going to sack him. So I think that's going to be a problem for Notre Dame. I just don't see them winning this game. I just don't. I don't. I think Georgia goes on. I think they win that game, and I don't think they have a problem with Penn State or Boise.
I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to benefit Georgia the time that they've had off. They're going to be the healthiest they've been on both lines of scrimmage. They should get Dylan Bell back, which will help in the receiving game. You got ETN is going to be as healthy as he's been, and he was big in that last game against Texas. He had in the second half, I think he had 60 yards or so. He had a 40-yard breakout run to keep a drive going. And honestly, I think they may tailor a little bit towards Stockton's liking. I think you're going to see them move the pocket a little bit and give him the run pass option with layer routes and stuff. I mean, the kid can throw the football. I mean, you don't throw for 13,000 whatever yards in high school. Now, I know that's a different level, but I've seen him play.
I have too. He's good. I like him.
And he's a very capable quarterback. I don't think they'd lose a whole lot, and I don't want to make light of the fact that the other guy was much more experienced, and it is a guy. He's not a freshman; he's a junior or third year in the system, and he knows the offense and he's prepared for it. And I think he's going to rise to the occasion. I mean, every time that he's had to, he has in his high school career. So, and I think the guys are rallied around him. The guys love this guy. You know, I think I've seen something on one of the social media platforms where it shows Carson back driving his Ferrari or whatever the heck he's got, and then
Lambo.
it shows Gunnar Stockton in his 1987 F-150, and they're like,
Yeah,
"We're playing with that guy."
yeah, I like that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, just
Yeah,
an old tan
yeah,
89 model Ford truck. Yeah.
yeah. But I think it's going to be a close game. I think Georgia's defense is going to have to get after the quarterback, keep them in third and long, get them behind the chains, and obviously Notre Dame's going to try to do the same thing and see if they can run it, or see if he can throw it. But
They just got to they got to stay in their lanes. And you need team leaders to be leaders. You need Starks to stand up and be a captain that he is, and keep them together. And I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame gets the ball off the kickoff and they go down and score.
yeah,
That's not going to blow my mind. I'm not thinking like they're going to get the ball first and it's going to be 1, 2, 3 punt. Georgia gets the ball, scores on play 2. I'm not being crazy,
no.
but can they do that all night? I just don't. I don't think they can. I think Georgia wins, and I think they get. I think they may get. It's possible they get Boise State playing the Orange Bowl. Very, very highly likely on that. Now, Texas, Arizona State. I ain't gonna spend a lot of time with this one. I just don't even think it's. I don't know. I may be wrong. And Leavitt's a good quarterback. He's thrown for a lot of yards. I like their system. I like their coach, Dillingham. I think he does a good job with them. But look, man, it's 89 Ford truck versus 2023 Lamborghini. It's just different. It's just different, man. They just got different kind of players. Sometimes those teams can sneak up on you, but I don't think Arizona State's going to sneak up on them. I don't think he's not pumping into the kids. This game's going to be easy. You know how he coaches.
Yeah,
he's going to come out there and tell them that they're freaking great. They're in this playoff for a reason. You better keep your heads in the right place. And I look for Texas to be able to play defense and handle them up front. And I think he'll throw for some yards. They have good receiving core. But Scatterboo is, that's their guy. And if he can break out and he has a 200-yard rushing game, they may give them fits. But I don't know.
Well, I went back and looked at some of the stats from Arizona State, some of the games they played. Games that, like against Texas Tech, they ended up losing 30-22. You go back and look at the stats, and Scatterboo had 18 carries for 60 yards against Tech. What in the world? A Texas Tech defense that has not been, world beaters.
No, they're
I just don't
in
know.
the middle. They're a middle 7-win Big 12 team.
Yeah.
I don't think that the game should be close. Really, I just don't. I think Texas and Georgia are going to walk their way probably to maybe a rematch. But the next game is probably going to be the closer of the games. It's a 2-point difference. Oregon, Ohio State. They're going to match up in the Rose Bowl. What do you like about Ohio State on revenge factor? Do they have a chance? I mean, it's basically Ohio State's favored by a pick 'em, basically.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is the performance that Ohio State had in the first round. And I think Ohio State is one of those teams that could run the table and win it all. Also think Ohio State, depending on motivational and all that, could come out and lay an egg. I mean, like they did against Michigan. I think that last game was pin up. Everybody pissed off about the way that the season ended. They didn't make the championship game. They had weeks to stew on it, and they come out and they just beat them up. I mean, and they look good. I mean, they look like one of the best teams. Unfortunately, we've talked about it before. It's kind of a travesty that they're having to play Oregon here in the second round. It should be at least the next round before they match up against them, but we won't go through that again. But I think the seedings were garbage. I don't think you should get automatic bids and all that. I think excuse me. I don't think you should get automatic buys. I don't have a problem with an automatic bid, but the automatic buy is garbage. So, but anyway, that's what we're getting. I'm going to probably take Oregon in a close one. I think Oregon and the defense is going to be better than what it's been the last couple of years, and I think this. You're right. I pick them. I think Oregon's offense has played pretty good, and I think their defense is going to win this game.
Think Oregon's defense wins the game?
For some reason, I just think they're going to make the play, and either a big sack late or a turnover, something. And it's going to be close, though, within 10 for sure. I think it's 1-4. And, it may be a 35-34 game. I think that's real close to what they did the first time.
Yeah, I could go along over and under, probably going to be around 70, 65 or 70. I think both teams probably get into the 30s. Probably not at first. I think by halftime it could be a 21-14 game. I think Ohio State's going to come out very focused. I think they know the task at hand. They've seen this team before. They know what Dan's trying to do. And I think the problem with Ohio State, the whole year, and you've seen high school teams do this. You've covered high school football, and it's more prevalent in high school than it is college. Usually big programs don't have this problem. It's the identity of who you are as a team. And they have so many playmakers, and they spent so much money on getting all these jocks at corner, at receiver, at tailback, and quarterback. And when you get a lot of guys, high-quality players like that in one room, there's only one guy that could ever, in the past 20 years, that could all put a room full of assholes and face them in the same direction and go win. And I'm quoting this from Taylor Siskey. And Siskey worked there. He was McCarron's quarterback coach, and he's coached at Ole Miss with Hugh, and he's been around a lot. And Siskey just, but it's about not being selfish. And in this time, it's hard to get players not to be selfish, especially when you have guys like Ward, laying out half a game and just being a real D-head. But I think Ohio State has maybe found their identity. I think they got a slap in the face against Michigan and thinking, Coach Kelly, he's only been there just this season. He's only worked with them for a little while, but Chip is a fantastic play caller. Guys, if y'all going back watching this now and you're younger, if you're my son's age or a little older, y'all don't know this guy coming from Oregon. He's the one that he's kind of the one that set the pace of this 80 plays a game, hurry up offense. I'm not saying he invented it, but I'm saying he was a big part of it. I think Ohio State has kind of found themselves where they need to be, and I think it'll shine. If they can play that way, and I think Tennessee may be a bad example for them to beat up on, because Tennessee looked caught in the lights. They looked out of place. They didn't seem comfortable. The game plan wasn't great, and they just they played a little. Yeah, they played a little better later, but it was kind of too late. They done got behind, and I think they quit on them. I think the team quit a little bit. So I think Ohio State's kind of found themselves. I look for them to be the upset of the weekend. I think they beat Oregon. I think they take care. We know they can be beat. DeBoer beat them twice last year with a bunch of 20 or 30th ranked recruiting class kids and a top 5 quarterback and a top notch receiver. He beat that team twice.
Yeah, Georgia hammered them too last year. Oregon.
I think. Boy, they better not come there with their heads big. I got a sneaky feeling Jeff thinks if Day don't have a reason to call the plays, Chip's going to be calling the plays. He's been calling the plays this year. they may have some say over a 3rd and 3, maybe what they want to do in a situation. But overall, listen, he coached Day when Coach Ryan Day played college and whatever he played at. Chip was like a assistant, then. So these guys have known each other. He's known for a long time. These guys just didn't hook up. Like, well, how did Chip Kelly wind up at Ohio State with Ryan Day? Because Chip Kelly coached Ryan Day when Ryan played college football. I don't remember where he played it. Was it Youngstown or I can't remember. Jeff will know. I think they figured out. I think they make the shock of the weekend, and I think the Ducks go down.
I mean, is it that much of a shock? I mean, I don't know if it's that much of a shock.
Well, because they beat them before, and they ain't been beat this year. But, honestly, I hadn't heard the media just rallying, and roaring about Oregon this year. Have you really? I had not really.
No, I think the fact that Oregon went undefeated and they're the number 1 seed and they're not the favorite in this game will motivate Oregon a little bit. I think they'll figure out a way to be pumped up for it. But I think it's a close game.
It seems like that second year that Georgia won it seemed like that team got a lot of talk. And they won it. They really, the media pumped them a lot and how they were ready. And I think probably that team the Alabama team that beat Notre Dame that year, that team was talked about a lot. But this kind of feels like the year Bama beat Texas. Well, they've won some games and they wound up beating Florida But there was some controversy about Texas-Nebraska game, so that got a lot of talk, because they put a second back on the clock for Colt for them to get him down there for them to score late and beat Nebraska. They beat Namakong Sioux, but I don't know. It don't seem like a lot of people believe that. So I see what you're saying. That maybe it's not a shock because I think a lot of people are probably pulling for Ohio State to win it because I think people like Coach Day. Seems like he runs a clean program. We don't hear a lot of crap coming out from up there. And that's good, man. If you can get a guy that can just get players to commit and come in and play and pretty much keep their nose clean for the most part, there's not a lot of, media coming out about Ohio State players being in trouble or nothing like that. So I think he's got them locked in. I think they found their identity. But see, Oregon is known who they are. Oregon is, bro, they've decided to be fast. They're fast. Their receivers are fast. Their linemen are fast. They play fast. And Ohio State went nose to nose. They just ran out of time in the last game, basically. So I think Ohio State gets that one, and that'll put it to Ohio State versus Texas for the Cotton Bowl on the 10th on ESPN. And I like Penn State in a close one to Boise, and they'll be catching Georgia in the Orange Bowl. So Georgia, Penn State, don't even have to ask me. Georgia goes to the championship game. Now, Texas and Ohio State, that'll be your Cotton Bowl matchup. We can come back and talk about that.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one too.
Or Texas and Oregon. You got another Saban Disciple Bowl again, the Cotton Bowl. And if Oregon plays Georgia, didn't Dan go with Kirby when he left to go to Georgia? Didn't Dan stay with Kirby for a year?
Yeah.
And then he took the Oregon job. Ain't that right?
A couple of years, yeah.
Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of prominent coaches come out of that tree. And I think the only bad game of that whole bunch, I think Texas Arizona State's just not going to be that may be the worst of the bunch. It'll either be that one or Georgia Notre Dame. One of those two games are going to be. You'll be in the kitchen washing the dishes where you just eat ribs and potato salad. You'll be like, well, let me knock these dishes out. That game's not real good. You may be washing dishes, birds, by the time Georgia – they may be up 20-0 on Notre Dame. It just wouldn't surprise me. I just ain't. I got no faith in Notre Dame. I've just never. And he may have them ready this year. And if they do beat Georgia, I'll go ahead and tell you right now that they'll be looking to. There'll be people scattering to try to hire Coach Freeman. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'll be honest. Even as a Georgia fan, I would not be shocked if they beat Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I think that.
Look,
I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I've never been a Notre Dame fan, and I tend to agree with you that they either they don't show up in the big situations or they're not ready. But I think they're more ready now than they ever was with a guy with the first name Brian and the last name Kelly.
Yeah. Well, yes, I agree. And in the defense, too, that they're not playing we know that Alabama team that beat Notre Dame, Georgia almost beat that Alabama team. They lost on the last second. He threw it in over there on the side, and the guy slips and falls down. If Georgia scores there, Georgia beats Notre Dame for the title.
Yeah, I think you're right because it was not a competitive game at all the next game.
That Georgia-Bama game, I think that game started a trend for Georgia and Bama, Rob, because everybody felt like to the next day the media people was like, that was the national championship. Does anybody feel like Alabama and Georgia's game was the national championship? You know what? I do, because it went to the last play of the game.
Yeah.
Last play of the game. If he don't slip down and slip out of bounds over there about the 3, Georgia scores, man.
I think that's one of the positives about the playoff system now is that year both teams would have made the playoffs and we could have probably ran it back later on that year.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play that Georgia team again. But that Bama team, that Georgia team that year, that's not this Georgia team.
No, big time difference.
Because they're both just stacking 5 stars up there. And to your point, that this Notre Dame team is better than that one that Saban beat. Do you think they are?
I think they are.
Now, they loved Te'o. Remember, he was just the best linebacker ever put on a pair of cleats. What a joke. Eddie Lacy made him look bad. Old fat boy running the ball smoked him.
I don't even want to get into Manti Te'o. That was him and his invisible girlfriend.
Bro,
made up girlfriend or something. I don't know. I've never seen such
a lot of media jargon. I never thought he was that good. I just didn't. I never thought he was that good of a player. But all right, we'll wrap it up and get off here. Birds, we'll come back. We'll come back next week.
Atlanta's got to win.
Who's playing?
Atlanta's at Washington, and Tampa's already won, so Atlanta has to win to keep pace in the division. They got to either win the NFC South or they won't make the playoffs. This is Penix's second start, supposedly in the rain at Washington. I don't know. I'm not real confident about it.
Well, they got a pretty good. They got a pretty good squad this year.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be tough trying to stop that quarterback at Washington. He likes to run around, stand the play, throw the ball deep. He's a pretty good player.
I'll look around here on there and I'll find it, watch a little bit of it.
I think it's on NBC at 8:20. Eastern.
Well, guys, we appreciate y'all coming by and hanging out with us here. Locker Room Sports Show number 266 is a wrap. It's in the books, baby. We'll be back next week. We'll try to get Dean in the house. He's out polishing his alligator loafers and shining up his Rolex watch. He's got big things going on. So
I appreciate you having me on.
No, yeah, man. Anytime you just jump in. Yeah, I'm glad we could try to figure out some stuff about Georgia. Georgia fans will know about them and where they at and where to. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to look at this stuff in depth and give some chatter out there for the media world to we're just saying that we're not saying Georgia's bad. We're just saying, man, they got to go get some guys. And there's not a lot of great guys out there. We went through the list of top receivers in the nation, and
Spread out.
they got some, but man, and they got some in-state guys that are pretty good. But honestly, you go down that list, there's a lot of 3 or 4 star in-state guys. There's just not a lot of 5-star guys. Period. As far as wide receivers, they're just not. And until we can keep developing players in high school, and now with NIL moving into high school, kids are going to move around, and development's going to get worse because kids are not going to stay, and they don't want any resistance, and resistance is what builds character and through development. And we're just going to have a different kind of football, and that's just what it is.
Let me give you a parting gift here. Keep writing this name down for Georgia on the receiving board. Landon Rolden. He's from North Oconee. He's about 6 foot 180. He will be your prototypical slot guy. Can get open on third down. He'll be compared 1,000,000 times to Ladd McConkey.
What's his last name?
Rolden, Roldan. And I've seen him play a couple times, and he can take the top off. Very fast guy, and he's quick too as well in space. I'm excited to see him.
Where'd you say he played at Oconee?
North Oconee. Yep, that's over there where. Oh Lord, David Pollock is a coach over there, North Oconee.
Bro, ain't that a great story? I love seeing him over there on the sideline and them getting there. Ain't that their first title, their first championship?
It was. I don't know. I really don't know. They've been a pretty good program.
I think he said that was their first time to win it. So that's great. I like him. I know he kind of got a bad rap, and I watched a show about him, just a podcast, him talking about leaving ESPN, and it's just crap. It's Disney. And, it is what it is. I ain't going to get started about that. I'll get fired up about something here.
Yeah. I'm a Georgia guy. I like Georgia, and I like David. And I thought he did an excellent job on game day. And
yep.
Look, I've kind of grown to like who they have on there now.
Yeah.
But I would definitely not favor Pat McAfee over David any day. But, I'm a homer, I guess.
Well, Pat is he's that spark plug guy. He'll stand up on the desk and who's that coming down the track?
Yeah, he's definitely different, and he brings a little excitement. I agree.
Yep. And that's what puts butts in seats, and their numbers are like, it's crazy. They've grown like, and Saban helps too, because people, whether they hated Alabama, other teams fans still, they want to hear what Nick has to say. Everybody knows who he is. They know he's the greatest to ever do it. So they appreciate his opinions on things. I think that helps too. It's not just Pat. And I think that may get lost in some of the mix too.
Did you watch the other day when Shane Gillis was on there?
Yeah.
He oh, yeah. Saban was definitely pissed off because he was basically saying that, he paid for players. And he let him know pretty quick off that he didn't like that. And he was on a Pat McAfee show, and Pat McAfee asked Saban, he said, hey, have you talked to Shane since then? Have you thought about, what was said and all that? He said, nope. He said, my daughter says she loves Shane Gillis. He said, at least that's one in our family that likes him.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, I'm going to jump off here.
Yeah, he punched himself in the corner on that one. And he's a comedian, like Nick said. He's like, I know he's funny, but that's kind of a shot. Don't do that. All right, homie. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll holler at you in a day or two, son.
All right, we'll see.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank y'all for coming by and hanging out here. Locker Room Sports Show number 266. We appreciate you coming by and hanging out, and we'll get back up with you next week. And make sure to like and subscribe. If you've lasted all the way to the end of the show here, you're obviously interested in what we do, and we just old boys hanging out and talking football. So y'all come back and hang out with us next time, okay? Appreciate it. Thank you.